Hello, this is TCP, and this is before the power rankings starts. Um, at the end of the video, there will be something special for the YouTube team. So there will be a timestamp to it for the description of the video. It will be pretty much completely separate from what power rankings is about. So if you're curious about what it is, go check it out, and you'll see more about it the next week. Hello, welcome to week 4 power rankings with me, TCP, and
Hey guys, it is me, WhiteFairy21, appearing for the first time on Power Rankings. You guys might know me from transactions on the ASL YouTube channel.
yeah. So, we're bringing back week 4 power rankings after being late, we know. We have actually a new format for this power rankings, which you'll see in a second. Actually, we'll just go to the first slide. It's the old format, but in the future, we decided to go back to the old format because the new format that we had was a bit too many slides, a bit hard to see everything in the big picture. So we decided to go back to the old format. We will have a new template to add the average picks in again, and we will still be rotating people who, I guess, host this, but we're back to the old format of slides for this episode. So, at number 14, we both put down Shadow. You want to talk about that, Ferret?
Sure. As much as I love Shadow, and it kind of hurts to do this every week, it's just, I know that he's had some other stuff going on in his life right now, and he can't focus, like, entirely on just the ASL, because he's got a new job going on and everything, but it's just, his play and prep have both just been really uninspiring for me throughout the first part of the season. It doesn't feel like watching Shadow play. It just feels like he's, I don't know, not like fully into it.
So for me, it's pretty. Shadow's the only one who's 0-4 at this point. At this point, things start solidifying with power rankings where your record really starts showing where you will land in the rankings. And for me, Shadow was the only one at 0-4, and he hasn't really been playing that. So I don't really like his team, so put him here at 14. Moving on, at number 13, both have TG, T-Flight. I mean, not TG. T-Flight.
TG.
T-Flight, British Barbaros, T-Flight. And do you know what I just realized?
What did you just realize?
So, a while ago when I first joined, I 100% thought that TG's team was the British Barbaros, and I understand now that it was actually T-Flight who was in Season 1, who was the British Barbaros, and he tricked me. Because his name starts with a T. But anyways, T-Flight is down here at number 13 because, honestly, I don't know how he has a win.
Yeah, I mean, he has not looked good. His play has not looked good to me throughout this first part of the season. But the interesting thing is, if you look through his schedule, he does not really have any bad losses. He lost to Cody, only 3-0. He lost to Brad, 5-0, which is pretty bad, but still, that's two very strong coaches. He beat Ian 2-0, and then he lost to TJ 4-0, which that's probably his worst loss, but really, he's been playing against, like...
Static.
This is week 4. Week 5 does not exist, TCP.
Wait, was this when... Oh. Static came in week 4. Beat T-Flight.
Yeah, but they didn't play until week 5.
Oh, wait.
T-Flight versus Static was week 5.
Oh. About Vash week. Speaking of Vash week 4, I put Vash at 12. But anyways, back to T-Flight.
Yeah.
He lost to Cody this week. Wow, I'm bad.
No, he lost to TJ this week.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. 4-0. So that's his worst loss so far. But it's just interesting to me that, like, we keep both putting T-Flight really low just because it seems like he's playing bad, but he is playing against the highest competition that this league has to offer. So I think we'll really get like a better sense of how T-Flight is faring like towards week 5 and beyond.
Yeah. So, and his team,
I hate the team.
yeah, everyone hates the team. So, number 12, you put down yourself. I put down Bash. Why did you put yourself at 12?
Strength of schedule. I
Strength?
mean, yeah, because like I have a 2-0 win over Shadow, who is winless so far, and that's it. And like I lost 1-0 to Brett this past week because week 5 does not exist. And like my other 2 losses weren't really bad. It's just that I have had a real hard time focusing on the end game and like closing games. And I think that like that just as a characteristic does not really pose a threat as much to other coaches.
So, for me, I have Bash here at 12 simply because I do think that your team has. When I get to the same records, the thing I focus on is whether I think their team can do well. Especially more as I'm going on, like how well the coach utilizes the team. Right now, it's all about, for me, strength of team. I think that you can use your team a lot better than Bash can, because his team kind of tricks him very much in the fact that it has a lot of hope. So your team is very threatening, since you can do a lot, you can be more creative and have more options, because you have a bunch of offensive things.
That is true, but my argument is that if I'm not using those offensive threats to a reasonable level, especially in the end game, then that's not more threatening than somebody who can, like, you know, play their mid to end game well, even if they do have holes in their team.
That's why you have him at 11.
Yes, is because, well, like, I'm sorry, Bash, but he's not really been good either this season. Like, we've both been kind of playing at, like, a below average level, but, like, for him, his play has been more convincing than mine, I think.
Okay. Moving on. Number 10 through 7. I have Malone at number 10, and you have Brett at number 10. So explain to
Yes.
us why you have Brett at number 10.
Brett could barely beat me. Sorry. It is a part of it. Brett's 2 wins so far are versus me, 1-0, and versus Shadow. And, I mean, like, I'm gonna keep going back to strength of schedule for a lot of these picks where people have similar records, but, yeah, because that's the thing I look at, you know? Because, if Brett has only really shown that he's better than 2 people in this league who are both, like, kind of at the bottom, right? Whereas Malone not only has beaten Brett, but then also, like, his game against TJ was really close. His game against Dave wasn't that bad, and then he only lost 2-0 to Vish as well. So, I feel that overall Malone has done better against better competition than Brett has.
The reason why I put Malone at number 10, he is the last 1-3 team, and that's a huge part of it. But another part of it is that really starting off bad is a really, really bad thing. Like, the difference between 2-2 and 1-3 is, especially at the very beginning of this, because morale is something that's huge. You start losing in the beginning, it's going to be really, really difficult to come back for the end. So I think that even though Malone did beat Brett and Malone has been fighting stronger people, I think being 1-3 is a detriment.
Fair enough.
At number 9, we have it reversed. So
Yeah, so we kind of already covered that, I think, didn't we?
yeah, my reasoning for putting Brett the lowest of the 2-2 coaches is because I said it last week, but I don't really like Brett's team. I don't know how he beat you, Ferret, but he did.
Well, very simple. I didn't play the end game well at all. But Yes.
Very simple. Sometimes you get 2 6% chances.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't even know if I won if he didn't crit me. Did I? I think I did.
It
I don't
very
remember
much
exactly.
came down to who managed the recovery.
Yeah. Which very well could have been not me.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on to number 8. I have Zombie. You have Static.
Yeah, so here's the point where we really start to diverge a lot.
Yeah.
Week 4 has been Static's first week, I believe.
Yep.
Right? And while he did beat Bash, to me that doesn't prove very much. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like it's always good to start off with a win, right?
Yep.
But like, I don't know, for me that's not like a very impressive win. That doesn't show me that much that you can beat Bash 3-0, right? That doesn't show for me that you're better than people like, you know, TJ, who's my next pick, or like Zombie, who like Zombie has a great win against Brad, and then obviously TJ had a very strong start to the season as well. So like I don't really have too good of a read on Static yet this season, but from what I've seen so far, I just can't justify putting him ahead of people like TJ and Zombie.
Okay. So the reason why I have Zombie at 8 is because even though he did beat Brad, which I think is a huge, I didn't feel that he really played the game that should have beaten Brad, considering where Brad it was. I thought that it might have been, I detrimented Brad a lot last week for losing in that way, because I thought that perhaps if this kind of mindset continues, he'd be back where he was in 5 when he was just on a huge loss streak. But now now that I'm looking at Zombie season, he is one of the 2-2 coaches, and personally, I don't think that his games have been closer than mine. So that's why I put him here. The reason why I have Static even higher than me and Zombie, as you guys can see, is because actually I'll just elaborate it more when I get to Static.
Sure.
So at number 7, I put myself, and you put TJ. So I guess I'll
Yeah.
talk about myself first, and talk about
Sure.
TJ. So I'm at one of the 2-2 coaches. Going into this, there were I would think, if I'm basing it off win-loss record, the highest I can possibly be is at number 6. That would be if I put myself above Static. And I did not put myself above Static because I'll talk about that later. But I put myself at number 7 simply because 2-2 is simply worse than 3-1. I feel like even though my games that I've lost have been close, my games that I've won have been close. I think I've been playing well of the 2-2 coaches, but that's not quite good enough to put me in the playoff range. So I put myself.
Fair enough. I will, since I've got like a bit of, well, spoilers, but I've got a bit of space between where I put you. I will talk about what I think of your season so far at a later point. But what I would like to do is talk about TJ so far. TJ obviously started off with a pretty strong 2-0 the first 2 weeks. He beat Milan and then he beat Dave. He suffered a little bit of a setback by losing to Bash, and that's Bash's only one, I believe. But then he followed up with like a good win against T-Flight that was kind of like, you know, convincing, getting him back on track type thing. It's just his game against like, even his game against like Malone and Dave, who wasn't very clearly he wasn't very committed this season, and like he couldn't put enough time into his prep to really focus on this league. Like those just weren't convincing enough compared to some of the other coaches that are looking to be in playoffs. And like his like, well, you could call it a fluke, but like his loss to Bash was just too like bad for me to look at and still say that like this coach that like TJ deserves to be in playoffs over like the top 6 in the league, which is very, very compact for me. So I just feel like I don't know, his wins have not been good enough, and his only like the times that we've seen him not do well like versus Bash, those have been too poor for me, really.
Guess we can move on to 6 through 3. I put TJ here at 6. So my reasoning for putting TJ here at 6 simply is because he's 3-1. I think 3-1 is a very powerful position to be up here at the early game. But I have TJ as the lowest 3-1 coach, simply because his wins have been the least impressive of the 3 closest. His losses have been... Actually, no, his losses haven't been the worst of them. But his wins have been the least impressive of them. And personally, I think the mid-game of the season is when TJ is going to start struggling the most. Because in the early game, it's all about getting used to your team faster than everyone else. I think TJ is very good at that simply because he puts the time to study his mons. But I don't think that... I think this is when the TJ train usually starts slowing down in the middle of the season. I think this is why, or that's why I'm predicting that this might be the slowdown of TJ's being in the high position. I'm putting him at...
Fair enough. At this spot, I have Zombie, just because like he's, I believe he is 2-2, right? At this point, he is, yeah. But I feel like he's 2-2, but he's through the hardest part of his schedule, right? Because he played me first, which was like not a very hard game. But then after that, he had Cody, he had Brad, and then he had Ian, which is like the 3 games in a row that I think everybody has, or most coaches have, at least. That's gonna be the hardest 3-game stretch of the season, and he got through that with like 1-2, and honestly, I thought he looked very good against those 3 coaches who are obviously like really well respected by everybody in the league. So I feel like he's just going to do better from here on out, and I feel like his play has been like really clean so far throughout the season.
Yeah. So at number 5, we finally start agreeing again, and we both put down Ian. So for me, obviously, there's like it's Ian, Cody, and Brad are the 3-1 coaches. Of those 3, I have to say that Ian, the fact that he lost to T-Flight in the way that he did is huge. It's huge because it shows that consistency might not be all there. This is something that I noticed last week. I talked about it a little bit last week. And it was that he did not switch a single time, and he just let things die. Like, you can check it back, Fair. I'm not sure if you saw that. But he did not switch a single time.
I didn't notice that, certainly. Maybe I didn't watch it close enough.
And in a draft league game where you're supposed to have... It's either going to be a 7-turn match or you're not doing it right. So I think that maybe consistency hasn't always been there for Ian. It's surprising because I still think that Ian might be the one to win. But yeah, that's why I have Ian. What about you, Finn?
Well, I share similar sentiments. I just watched that game back, and yeah, he didn't switch at all. That's crazy. But his losses. Well, not losses. We're down to 1-loss territory at this point. But his loss is like definitely the worst loss of any of the 3-1 coaches, and that's enough like for separation for me at this point. And like, well, like it's not a spoiler because you can see it on the screen now, but like even like you yourself, TCP, I think that like even though you have 2 losses, Like those two losses combined are not as bad as that Chief Light game for me. So like you kind of really hit the nail on the head there with the two losses. Like his loss was really bad, and then like his wins for me have not been that impressive, except for obviously his week 4 victory over Zombie was pretty good. But like his first 2 weeks, like those aren't that good compared to some of the other coaches that we're looking at now. So
the Gyro Ball Slurpuff. Wait, was it Slurpuff? It was a Gyro Ball Fairy type. It wasn't.
What is
Aromatisse? I think it was
Aromatisse sounds correct.
Yeah.
It is Aromatisse. Yeah, Gyro Ball Aromatisse. It was a good move. I will admit that.
Anyways, moving on to number 4. You put down me, and I put down Cody. So,
I did. And despite the fact that you're 2-2, arguably could have been 1-3 if I knew how to play Pokemon. But like you lost to Vish, sure. Like I'm not gonna hold that against you. It's a tough game. But then you beat me, and then you like really bounced back against Cody, which should have been a very tough game, honestly. But you managed to scrape a 4-0, and like that to me just shows that like you're on the right track, even though you lost 3-0 to Brad. Like you have like all your losses are to very good coaches, like very good teams. It's not stuff that I would really hold against you. And then like that loss against Cody is that win against Cody is very impressive to me. So that's why I have you up there. And also just name recognition. I know that you're going to put the time in to be good every week, and I know that you're gonna play well. I know that you're not gonna make silly mistakes that just lose you a game. So I kind of gave you a little bit more leniency than I would most other coaches, but I feel like you've earned it as well. So
thank you. So I put Cody here. And this might be a huge surprise that I'm putting Static above Cody, but I'll explain that when I get to Static. But Cody, I do not think has been more dominant than Brad. Thinking back to it now, I did mark on it a lot last week when Brad lost to Zombie, but considering how he utterly decimated me, I think that I'll mention it when I talk about Brad, but I think Cody doesn't have I haven't really noticed the flair that he usually has, simply because Cody's big thing for me has always been his unpredictability. And I think that at the end of last season, when he joined back in, brought in a lot of sets that were crazy and worked. I don't think he's as into it with that kind of team building this time around. Maybe because he's team, maybe he just doesn't have to. But that's why I put Cody at. And I guess we'll go to number 3 right away. And I'll talk about Static because everyone's probably dying to know why I put Static at 3.
Number 3.
And I'll explain this. So Static came back in. He took over Dave's team, and he won. So I think, as a general statement, taking over a team in a league can either be really good or really bad, generally. If you're not used to the team and you lose when you come back, then it's really bad because you're probably going to continue losing because you're not used to the team. And you can't really use it. But the fact that Static won indicates to me that it's probably a really good thing, because something that people run into throughout the season, and going into the mid-game of the season, Static's at his beginning of his season, and going into the mid-game, this is when people start abusing your habits, using the things that you like, and start like prepping more for it so that you can't use it as much and you have to get more uncomfortable. Static right now, what he likes about his team and what he's good with on his team is currently unknown. And I think the fact that he won his first game indicates that he could be on a tear in the mid-game of this season. That's why I put Static at number 3. And he has a 100% win rate this season.
I want to argue with you about the static stuff, but it's not the time for this. I should have brought up more stuff earlier, I guess, when I talked about static, but that's fine. I have Brad at number 3. I'm sure we can all agree that Brad has had a very impressive season. Those of you by process of elimination who have been using process of elimination throughout this video can tell who I have above him, but there's no I'm not gonna beat around the bush here. Brad has been very, very good this year. Honestly, I expected him to start a little bit at the beginning of the season, just getting back into draft and everything. Wait, well, am I misremembering something? I don't know.
Well, he came back in last season, played 7 games, or he went 7-2 last season in consolation.
Yeah, that is right. Okay. I just definitely attributed something that Ian did to Brad, but that's okay. But yeah, Brad still has had a very good beginning to his season. His win against you was certainly very impressive, and he definitely deserves to be up here. I just don't. I'm just not as convinced by his prep and play as by the other 2 coaches that are above him. I really don't have many knocks on Brad at all. It's just has not been as impressive as the 2 coaches that I have above him.
So, going into final 2 territory. Brad, Cody, Fish. So, number 2, I put down Brad, you put down Cody. I guess I'll talk about Brad, why I put Brad here. So, the reason why I put Brad here isn't simply or mostly actually is because the way that he I feel that in Draft League, there's 2 things that are very important. That's consistency of play, consistency of level of prep, of just bringing solid prep, and the ability to surprise your opponent. Now, the more experienced your opponent is, and the more you've played with a team, the harder it becomes to surprise your opponent. And I think that the fact that Brad showed this week against me that he still has that surprise factor, even against someone who I had no clue that what Flame Boost Drifblim could do to my team. That's crazy, considering that I prepped for all of his mons, theoretically. So, that's something that I was impressed with. That put him at the number spot for me.
Well, for me, looking at, I have Cody up here, right? So, you said earlier that you think that Cody's, strongest characteristic in Draft League is his ability to, surprise you with certain sets and things like that. I disagree. I think his most, powerful, strength, I guess, definitely comes from his play. I think it's that, the one thing that you can count on when you're watching Cody in a battle is that he will always have the momentum in the battle. He will always be in the driver's seat. Well, except for his one game against you, but we're gonna ignore that for the purpose of my argument. So, I don't know, if you just, pick any random turn, one of his games, I'd say there's, a 90% chance that he's going to be in charge of the momentum, and Pokemon is very much a game of momentum. If you're in momentum, if you have the momentum on your side, then you have much more, ability to predict what your opponent is going to do and play off of that instead of just having to figure out, what you're gonna switch into, what your opponent's threat, or what do you do if they set up, etc., etc. But since Cody is always forcing his opponent to be in that situation, that's really what makes the way he plays so devastating. If he's able to keep that momentum, is that he knows, he preps so thoroughly that he will know all the things that you could possibly do to counter what his strategy is. And then the other thing is that he always has a great focus on his end game, how he's going to how he knows specifically how he's going to beat you, and then exactly the steps that he needs to take to get to that point. So just that systematic efficiency that he shows almost all the time, except for a certain I believe week 3 game, Like, that's just... I just don't see how you beat him unless you can, like, really knock him off guard with something like you did.
So at number 1, of course, we both have to put Fish. I mean,
Yeah.
he's undefeated. Can't
Mm-hmm.
knock him for anything that he's done this whole season. Prep has been amazing. Play has been good. His draft is okay. I wouldn't say it's the most powerful thing, but it's something that Vish can work with. Has been working. So, pretty self-explanatory for me. How about you, Finn?
Well, I mean, he's 4-0. And even though Week 5 definitely hasn't happened yet, I don't doubt that he will be 5-0. And, like, he's just been dominant, like, early in the season. To be fair, I don't think his schedule has been all that difficult, but, like, still, like, he has not lost to anyone. Like, I don't really think that it goes, like, much farther than that.
So, that's the end of Week 4 of Power Rankings. Or it would be if we were on time. So, something that you guys do not know, and that Ferret doesn't even know, is that there's something hidden in the YouTube team that has been discussed as of maybe a week ago, and that was decided to be implemented starting with this video. So, about a week ago, we were supposed to upload this, and we didn't, so we were late. And we decided, for Brett, Malone, I, and Ian, we got into our little thinking heads. We were like, okay, we can't have missed uploads happening, so we decided that we would bring in something new. Some of you might already know what I'm talking about. It's called the Wheel of Punishment. Now, Ferret can't see the Wheel of Punishment, but I'll explain it to everyone here. So, there's a wheel right here on your screen right now. It has 11 different options, all of which range from something that's really bad of dropping a C or D tier mon on your actual team, down to something that's not even that bad, which would be like doing a video on the top battle of the week. But because both Ferret and I missed this upload, we both have to spin the wheel. So, do you understand what's going on, Ferret?
Yeah. Before we get into this, I'd just like to announce that I am officially submitting my resignation from the ASL YouTube team. It's been a great run, but... Sorry, I can't go through this. Continue. I get it.
Okay, Ferret. As the person who did not know that this was happening, do you want me to go first, or do you want you to go first?
I'd like you to go first, I guess.
Okay, I'll be going first. So, wheel spinning. Okay, so what I have to do for this is I have to record myself drinking a gallon of water in one sitting. So expect that to be either on the YouTube team playlist of Wheel of Punishment, or just being uploaded on my own channel. We haven't decided on which will be required, but Ferret, are you ready?
Alright, let's see.
Okay. Spinning the wheel again. Oh. So Ferret got karaoke. That means that he has to record himself singing one song of the YouTube team's choosing and uploading it.
Alright, fair enough.
So that's it from us for Week 4 Power Rankings and the Wheel of Punishment. I hope you enjoy. Week 5 Power Rankings should be up this week, or else you know what's happening. So that's it from us. See ya.
See ya.